I'm Atalanta, and this is Soul Connection. Soul Connection is a series dedicated to teaching you how to tap into and connect to your soul on a deeper level. We will be exploring spirit versus soul, mass meditation, chakra energy, vibration, and connecting to all. We will learn how to tap into our soul and figure out what our purpose is on this earth in this lifetime.
On this episode of Soul Connection, we are going to discuss the higher self. Many different cultures describe the higher self as different things or consider it different things. For example, in Hinduism, where it actually originated or the thought originated, is Atma Buddhi. In Christianity, it's considered the Holy Spirit. In mysticism, we kind of consider the higher self more of a soul or connection to your soul. How the higher self is what you use to connect to the soul, to give you that information of all your lives that you have lived in the different planets, dimensions, the different planes, all of the information that has been collected through these lifetimes and these experiences are stored in the soul. Tapping into the soul through the higher self will help give you guidance on what path you need to follow in this lifetime on this dimension and future lifetimes on other dimensions. Here on this earth, we have limitations that we experience. Some limitations are real. For example, your living circumstances, but a lot of our limitations are in our mind. We were conditioned to think certain ways, and us being humans, we like a comfort zone, whether it's uncomfortable or not, or whether we like it or not. We like our comfort zone, what we're used to. Sometimes we like to take the easy way out, and that way is just following what we think we should be doing. If we can tap into our soul through the higher self, we will have advice, guidance, which path we should be taking. It will help us prevent even from making the same mistake over and over again. In this show, I am going to show you a couple of ways to tap into your higher self and connect with that communication to your soul. Quieting the mind is very important because it gives your body and your brain a chance to recharge. It's also important because it gives your soul an opportunity to connect with you and give you clear messages. So difficult to do though, because we live in such a busy world with multitasking and running around in social media. One of the things I would like for you to do, and this will help you quiet your mind, is to start by, you've heard of time management. This is a little bit different in time management. Take an account for everything that you have been doing on a daily basis. Social media. How much time do you spend on social media? Do you spend all throughout the day checking your phone every few minutes, even every hour? Or do you have an allotted time set aside to check your social media? Now, I do know that some of us have to do our social media and throughout the day because it's part of our work, or it's just a way for us to keep tabs on our friends and our family. And that's absolutely fine. The problem is that we do not know how much time we spend on social media because we do it throughout the day. Multitasking, okay, when you're doing a few things at once. And I know that our employers these days want us to multitask and to get many things done at once. The problem with that is that you are not focusing your attention to one task, and you're not focusing your mind to the present. You are focusing in the past. This is what I'm doing. In the future, this is what I'm doing. But right now I'm working on this. So your brain, your mind is going in three different directions without fully being present to the task at hand. So what I urge you to do is keep an account for the time that you spend um, on one particular task or at work or on social media, maybe watching television. I recently listened to a podcast that discussed, the average person living to be 89 years old. 89 years old, okay? Sleeping from 6 to 8 hours a night, working 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. But then you have to account the fact that, you've got to get ready for work. You've got to go to work. You've got to be able to drive there. Social media, spending an hour of social media. Now, that most of us spend way more than an hour on social media every day. But let's just say an hour. Tallied up all these different things of stuff. Television, I think I mentioned, was 4 hours a day. The average person, 4 hours a day. Out of the 89 years, they figured that it was 57 years that was used for all of that. 57 years. So think about that. Okay. Those remaining few years are what you are doing, applying to your life, which you really want to do. Okay. So that is a very scary thought. Okay. Taking an account for all that time that you're spending on television, sleeping, which we have to do, working, which we need to do, taking an account for all of that time, we spend 57 years on average as Americans, 57 years of our 89-year average lifetime doing things that don't even pertain. They do not even pertain to what we really want to do or what our mission is, our goal, our path. Out of that time that we are spending of that 57 years, we need to eat, we need to sleep, we need to work. Wouldn't it be great, though, if we could eliminate hours of social media a day, hours of watching television? And I'm not saying get rid of those things, not at all. We enjoy those things, but limit our time in doing that. Well, we can apply the other time to our tasks that we want to do, what we were meant to do. There's just so many things going on, and this is a fast-paced life. It is hard to shut down. Some of the things that you can do to shut down is limit your time on television. I don't know how much television you watch. I try not to watch TV. If I do, it's Netflix or YouTube. I like to listen to podcasts. If I start to watch television, like if I get on Netflix, I will binge watch, and I am guilty of that. So I just stay away from the television. I do like podcasts, like when I'm driving in the car, but I am learning that when I am in the car, that I need to be quiet and I need to keep everything off, because remember, silence is when your soul actually speaks to you, and you will come up with the best ideas whenever you're just in quiet. That is some of the hardest for me, because when I'm driving, I'm wanting to listen to something, but that is something that I've recently been implementing into my life. So I suggest to you, while you're driving down the road, maybe keep the radio off, keep the podcasts off for just a short period of time. Give yourself, like from the time that you're at home going to work, give yourself that time to just quiet the mind. And then on the way home, enjoy a podcast or a radio station. But quieting the mind is very difficult. Some of the things that you can do, I used to listen to podcasts while I was laying in the tub, and I thought it was relaxing, and it was. But laying in the tub during my ritual baths or just my meditation bath is so relaxing, and I just needed to be silent, not even play music. At first, I had to listen to music to kind of just slow my mind down a little bit. That's the hardest part. Right before bed, we tend to get on our phones and we're just social media. Set the phone down. Maybe at that time, just lay there and listen to the quiet, listen to the silence. It is also very important to quiet the mind so that we can learn to live in the present. enjoy what we are doing the moment we are doing it. If we constantly look back on the past, then we're living in the past and there's nothing we can do to change that. Having goals for the future is very important, but if we are fixated and anxious about meeting those goals, we will never concentrate on what we can do right now to achieve them. When you spend time in silence and calm your mind, quiet your mind, you are actively working on your future. You are able to focus on the task at hand. And in a sense, you are looking to the future, but you will not experience anxiety or pressure. I urge all of us to take account for time that we spend on things that just aren't that necessary. Limit ourselves to some of the extra things like television, social media, sitting around talking on the phone about just whatever. Just limit our time, cut back a little bit, and add those years to our lives that we are actively working toward what we were meant to do.
The first step in connecting to your higher self and your soul is quieting the mind. With all the busyness that happens in today's world, it is so difficult to quiet the mind. Just be still. It is so important to remember to live in the present, and the only way to experience that is to find peace within yourself. There's a saying that depression is living in the past, anxiety is living in the future, peacefulness and happiness is living in the present.
For this segment of the show, we have returning guest Andjela, who's going to be discussing with us how to connect to your higher self, to your soul, through your higher self and through meditation. So good. And I thank you for coming back on the show. We're talking about the higher self and how it is what connects to your soul. What is your opinion about that?
Well, your higher self is the most important part of being a psychic, but also for people who don't practice like spiritual things. They also have some, I call it also like an intuition. So the better you're connected with your higher self, the better your intuition is going to expand itself. You know, the better you listen to yourself, the better the guidance you have in your life.
Exactly.
That's what I think about the higher self. It's an intuition. It's listening to your gut feeling. It's your gut feeling that's telling you, hey, this or that.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, and I think that like you mentioned like psychic ability and things like that, that's absolutely true. And spiritualism, but even the everyday person, wouldn't you agree, needs to connect to that higher self because they could receive that guidance. And I think everybody can do it.
Everybody can do it as long as they also can practice to find that silence into themselves, you know, to go inside and listen. Like, for example, when you're on your work, just for 2-3 minutes, just quiet and nothing else, and just listen to what your body is saying, it's not your mind, but really your body. What is it saying? What does it want from you? And that is the first practice, to listen to your body, and then you can practice further. Like, okay, what do I need? What do I feel? If I make this choice, what do I feel in my body? Do I feel cramps? Does it make me excited? That's also that's all a part of your higher self. So your higher self tries to communicate with you like a person.
Right. And I also think that it is sort of the connection to your soul. You know, and we've discussed that in a previous episode. We were talking about soul and spirit and connecting to your soul, which is what this whole series is about. So, you know, it is like it is the part of you that connects that part of you on the physical realm to the astral realm, if that's what you would want to call it. And
Yes.
that being quiet, that silence, I think is what's challenging. I know it's challenging for me because I talk a lot. So what would you suggest to somebody like me that has to quiet their mind?
Um, I would suggest meditation. And first of all, when you do a meditation, to pay attention to your breathing. When you listen to your breathing, well, I mean, like how you need to breathe, because we all breathe, but we don't breathe all on the way we need to breathe. So when you do it by the good way, then you can focus your attention to your breathing, and then you can make your mind, the thoughts of your mind, more silence, because you put your focus on something else. So the mind doesn't have space to interrupt. You know what I mean?
Right, to wonder. That makes sense. You know, it's a really good idea because I have a problem with meditating the traditional way. Now, when I've worked with you in your healing, your energy healing, I've never seemed to have a problem because a lot of times you'll have me lay back and, you know, do my hands and then listen to some music that's really beautiful and it helps settles my mind. But I think in communicating with your soul, you need to do that in silence because if you're listening to music or something like that, then you're not going to hear your soul speak to you. What do you think about
Well, the first time when you start meditation, then it's the best to do it with some meditation music, you
that?
know, because your focus is on the meditation and on your breathing. But when you're a little bit more further with your meditation, then you can put off the music and find that silence inside, because then you're automatically are going to focus on your breathing, because you're already practice meditation. So your soul already knows what to do. And then the next challenge is to do it without music. And real meditation, really real
There
meditation,
we go.
is without
So it's
music.
hard for me to sit and concentrate and sit in silence. And I try. And that's one of the things I've been implementing into my life right now. When I used to listen to music or a podcast when I took a bath. Now I'm just taking my bath and enjoying the moment, the present moment. And that's one thing that sounds like it's so easy to do, but it's not easy for me to do. And I'm just getting into practice of it. But I think that's great. You would suggest then concentrate on breathing, putting on music. Now, what about music with words? Music, does it need to be without words? With words, does it make a difference?
Well, that it all depends on the person itself. Some people don't like words while they meditate. They like only some background music. But there are also people that likes guided meditation. So it all depends on the person. What does the person prefer? Baby steps is really important, because when you put some pressure on your meditation, then it's not a meditation anymore. You can't relax. And when you're relaxed, then you can do your meditation because your body is relaxed, you know. And it's meditation is really like something natural. It's not something you're forcing yourself. If you're forcing yourself to meditate, believe me, you can meditate, because you're pushing yourself to a state to get quiet, but you're only giving yourself stress. So you're doing the opposite.
Right, right. And I think as fast paced as the world is today, people that are just trying to start out with meditation struggle because their mind is going in so many directions. Everything, you know. One of the things I've also been putting into play into my life is concentrate. I'm a multitasker and I always have been
Me
for
too.
years. Yes. And you know, that's what the world wants right now. That's what the business world wants. That's what society wants. They want you to do everything all at the same time. Have a conversation, play on your phone, look at Facebook, social media, do your work. You know, everybody is just all over the place. And although I still definitely multitask, you know, obviously, there are certain things that I focus on just that. And even that's difficult for me because I can't
I
sit still.
understand it. I understand it. I understand it completely.
And I
I
think that's
understand
what
it
the hardest
completely.
is. Yeah, I think that's what the hardest is with whenever trying to meditate, you're focusing on one thing. And if you're used to doing many things at once, your brain's going to want to wonder, what are the benefits in connecting to your soul through meditation?
The first benefit is your body is relaxed. So that's a huge benefit because people get sick because they're only putting stress and pressure on their body. So they don't listen to their body. And when you start to meditate, your body gets a time to be in a relaxed state. Even like when you're sleeping, our body needs that to fill up the energy we are losing with stress, like everyday stress, things like that, you know. And the more you meditate, the more you will find peace inside yourself, so you won't get fast angry or stressed. When something happens, you can switch to the meditate state, I would say, because you don't let it come so far to how would I say it? I don't want to use bad words, but you don't let negative energies come in,
Right.
for sure. Because when you meditate, you're in a state more relaxed and
Mhm.
more quiet, and there's no room for angry or something.
Right.
And when you make it your daily routine, then you have more patience with things. So you're practicing also patience, to be patiently and not to react so fast and angry and things like that. You're going to be like, okay, this is happening. What am I going to do? Or or I'm not going to do anything. You know,
Mhm.
it makes the mind also think clearly. You know, you
Mhm.
don't react immediately. It's like, okay, breathing. I'm going back to my solar plexus. I'm breathing. What do I feel? Does this feel good? Doesn't it feel good? Do I have to say something about it? What if I say something about it? So there's already some space between the thing that happened,
Mhm.
and it already solved itself.
Right.
You know, in those seconds that you are calm, you know, something already change every time. So you can change the energy also. You can practice that also with meditation.
Mhm. How do
And
you
so
recognize that they're messages? Do you personally get visions? Do you hear messages? Do you have like images in the back of your head? Like what is your experience with it? If somebody was going to embark on this journey and they were going to begin meditating and I don't know how long it would take, let's say months down the road, how would they recognize their soul communicating to them?
the first thing when they do a meditation, they have to ask a question. So, for example, if they're struggling at their workplace, so is this the right workplace for me? And then they're meditating on it. But don't think too much about it. Just put it in the air, put it in the universe, and just let it free, let it be. And then, or while you're doing your meditation, you already get your answer, but you don't want to listen. That also happens. But it can also happen after your meditation for a quiet moment. For example, when you're watching TV, for example, when your body is in a relaxed state, or you're doing your dishes, or you're cleaning your house, or whatever. And suddenly you will get your answer. So meditation always helps, but always ask the question. And 90%, you already know your answer. Your higher self already knows the answer.
It's already told you, yeah.
It's
And that's
already
where your
told you, the
intuition.
signs are there, but it's like the head is saying no.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. The head is saying no. We've talked
Just
about that
feeling
too
like,
before.
I felt this one, but I didn't want to feel it. So
It's like I
yeah,
already knew that. Your soul's saying, I told you so.
yeah. It's also, well, we make jokes of it, but it has a lot to do with being honest. Being honest to yourself. If you know that something isn't good, that's not honesty to yourself.
Right.
And then you can't work with your higher self, because your higher self is like, okay, you didn't want to listen. Well,
Shuns you off. Says, forget it then. I won't give you any more Higher information. self Let's
right
just touch for a second on as far as like psychic abilities, or not even psychic. Let's stick psychic aside for a minute, because not everybody, when people hear the word psychic, it's like some people put up a wall, you know? They're like, oh, I can't do
Yeah.
that. Okay, so let's just put psychic, that word aside, and let's just talk about your higher self with your intuition, your higher self, you know, what are your thoughts about that? I mean, I feel like everybody has that. Everybody has that inside them. They just don't know how to connect to it.
Or they don't want to.
That's true.
It all has to do also with, are they prepared to learn their lessons? And 90%, if you are not prepared, or if you don't want to, it doesn't work.
But I thank
Thank
you
you so
so
much.
much for coming back on. I know this was a quick interview, but I thank you so much for coming back on. And I definitely want to have you back on for dream interpretation and connecting to your soul.
Definitely.
And I will see you again soon. Blessed be.
Blessy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I want to thank you for joining us tonight on this episode of Soul Connection. And a very special thanks goes to Angela for returning. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Blessed be.